Okay. Any moment.
Yeah, all's up, right on time.
In this case. Phone call.
Broad,
Here.
Palazzo. Here. DeBowser.
Here.
Brick. Lancaster.
Here.
Newell. Here. Sarniso. Here. Smith.
Here.
8 present, 0 absent.
Okay. Any additions or changes to the agenda? Any executive session? I'm aware of. All right, in which case then, we on to the approval of minutes and reports. We have a motion to approve the January 7th council minutes. So moved. Second, moved in second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the council minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion. We have a motion to approve the special meeting minutes from January 28th. So moved.
Second.
Second, Casey, was that you?
Yeah.
Okay, moved in second. Any discussion? No discussion. In favor, see the public saying aye. Aye. Any nay? Any opposed, nay? Motion carried. All right, we also have in your packet the December 2024 financial report. Nicole, you've been going over some things with those. Do you want to do that? I guess we need a motion to approve. And second, Nicole, is there anything on there? You've been kind of giving us some lessons
Yeah,
here.
well, if you want to add, so I told you about at 1.8, so if you take the general fund and the project fund is our capital reserve, really,
Yep.
so you'd add those together, so our end of the year balance was at 2 million, so. It was close, 1.8, so.
If you're gonna get it wrong, get it wrong like that. all right?
So, but I'm just thinking though, too, that what's not on here, but the special meeting from the Homer City, there was minutes, so you guys should approve that. But we forgot to add it to the.
Yeah, the minutes are on there, but I missed
The
that on
minutes
that.
are.
Oh, from the.
Jen-
The Homer
yeah.
City, that you guys actually called to order, and so you should approve those minutes.
Okay.
We gotta do this.
Yeah, well, that's right, that's right, until the financial
Yeah.
report, sorry. Did you want to talk about anything with the financial report?
No, we can talk more.
Okay.
So,
In which case, is there any further discussion about the December 2024 financial report? Okay, all in favor of approving sorry, we had to move. Right, yeah, thank you. All in favor of approving the financial report, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Motion here. Do we have?
All these on the agenda say 2024.
Good catch.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one of
So
them
they
should.
Yeah,
And one of them should, that's true. Well, we were to public comment. Do we have a public comment? We have a public. Jeff, ma'am, are you here for public comment possibly? Or are you part of the Stewart crew?
I'm just here to listen.
Here to listen, okay. We just got the public comment, so if you had wanted to say something, this is the moment. Okay, then, in which case, moving through, public comment.
so it's a chair there.
Oh, yes, thank you. Gotta be on there, or I'm just gonna go right open.
Yeah.
So what would we call it, January 2025, EMS meeting, I mean, what would we call that?
Yeah, January 30th joint meeting.
Special joint meeting. Okay, move to second. Any other discussion on that, those minutes? No, all in favor of approving those minutes, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. I should wait. Good. All right. Okay. Throw that in there.
Oh, what the squall?
Someone's wife is good, that's all that matters. All right, in which case, we did not have any public comment, so now we are on to presentation by the Stewart group. Jeff, are you ready, sir?
Yes, I'm ready.
Jeff, you want me to poke you every 3 minutes?
Do you want me to start?
So really.
Yes.
It's like, yes. All right, my goal for tonight, so, thank you for your attention. We're at a really exciting point in this project, meaning we're getting ready to put it to you all to adopt the plan. And so the goal for tonight is really, and I'm gonna come back to that for a second, is really my purpose here is to describe the organization of the plan, because you need to sort of know that in order to be able to sort of understand the plan. And then at the end of the meeting, my hope is that you would be able to identify or list the big ideas that are in the plan. So in order to do that, you know, we've got what, 120-page document. It's difficult to do. And I've tried it about 14 different ways. Trey and I were laughing today because I've done this and tried to get it. The only way to do it is to go fast. Okay, so there will be some Q&A at the end. If you have a question as I'm presenting, you can say, hang on a second, where is that project? Hang on a second, is that right next to, it's totally okay. The idea is familiarity, right? So as we're using this plan, this is what this is for, is to get you a little more familiar. So this is where we are now. And so Trey, you want to hit on anything here?
Nothing major. I mean, we're at the bottom of it now. Like you said, based off of the last community development meeting, like you said, we just want to get you guys a little bit more familiar with what you're going to be approving. So really after tonight, the last step we have is just the adoption in 2 weeks from tonight. And I know you're going to talk about the reception a little bit, but everything else has been taken care of. All the public notices, people have been made aware. So one more step.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, thank you. And speaking of reception, Eden, do you want to hit on this? 'Cause
Yeah.
we've certainly been planning this a little bit.
Yeah, so our reception, sorry for those of you who thought it was tonight, that was misleading. We were putting information for both of these sessions out at the same time to get everyone excited, and we got one person here to sit through the presentation tonight. So there wasn't that much excitement, but ahead of the work session on the 18th, we will have a little reception. We have some posters planned, some kind of engagement activity. We will meet at 6:30. There will be refreshments, so we can come and enjoy those refreshments. The three of us will be available if you have questions about the plan, mostly them, but I'll be here as well. And that's really it. We want to give everyone a chance to engage. It'll be here, yep, right before. We'll just be set up front. We just want to give everyone a chance to kind of engage with that before we adopt it. So obviously, hopefully after this, you're a little bit more familiar, but
You will beg parking for publicized well.
yeah, yeah, so, thank you. Yeah, yeah, so we'll be meeting at 6:30 with refreshments on the 18th right ahead, and then right at 7, you know, our work session will start, and we're going to move the hearing to the start of the work session to get that on top of mind.
To add on or to touch base on that real quick
Yeah,
before we go on, I sent you guys an invitation on Friday, but I'll follow up again with another reminder prior to the event. And then are you gonna talk about the public hearing itself at all? I had added a couple of details about it in the email. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's not much different from the public comment section.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Right, I mean, so the public hearing, you guys have all sat through hearings before. It's no different. It's the same thing. So it's very formal, but it gives the community a chance to voice their impression, their thoughts, their ideas about the plan. We live in this wonderful democracy, and this is part of that. Okay, and guys, this is a fun presentation for me, only because, well, the project's done, but also because my 14-year-old son, 15-year-old, whatever. That was a mistake. Guys, I was leaving the house. I said, hey, and I'm just a few blocks away. I said, hey, does anybody want to go? Of course, nobody wants to go, and I'm used to that. And he said, a little voice said, I'll go with you, Dad. And so he's here, so I'm happy. Yeah.
We had to get him.
This is
Dairy
well
Queen.
back here.
Get Dairy Queen.
Well,
You had to get him Dairy Queen to get him.
surprise. All right, guys, I have a QR code here and I made it really big. You can follow along on your phones if you want to. And the QR code is here. This is flipbooks. This is no different than what you've seen before, but you're welcome. And if nobody, okay. Aaron, thank you, Aaron.
Hey, I didn't want it to go to waste.
Right. So what is a comprehensive plan? Comprehensive plan is developed by a planning commission, engaging the public, and it's presented as a way forward, okay? What does it have in it? challenges, solutions, and guidance. Now, we adopted something called an implementable plan model. What does that mean? We wrap the plan around what you all say is important. The old model was you have to do this, this, and this. Okay? The new model, which was developed at roughly around 2012, allowed communities to shape the plan around what was important to them. The characteristics, it's broad, it's long-term, it contains a vision, is really all about the built environment. It's guided by the municipality and by the planning commission, okay? That means that engagement is critical and the plan is shaped around the things that we hear and the interactions that we have with the public. Developed by, and it's a living document, meaning it can be changed. It's a foundation for decision-making, for investments. It's a prioritization tool, initiative, grants, land use regulations and strategies, and functions of government. Our planning process, I put this up here and thought about you, Casey. Just give me the results, okay? Just give me the results. This is the only thing I'm gonna say about process, okay? We had an organization phase, we had an excite phase, we had a listen phase, we had a build phase, we had a launch. This took about 18 months, give or take, okay? What's in the plan? This is the easiest way, I think, to tell you. We've organized the plan around 5 community-wide systems. That means that if you think about anything in terms of a system, you can think about an educational system, you can think about a neighborhood system. We have identified 5 systems that were identified by the community when we did the outreach, and those systems you'll see when we go into the next part of the presentation. We also have 19 goals that are associated with these systems. We have 22 strategies. If you think about this like a funnel, the big stuff is the goals, the more specific stuff is the strategies. And then we went one step further and identified 11 catalytic projects that could be substituted for sort of the big ideas. The catalytic projects are where the visions that we develop for each of the systems are articulated in the community, where they show up. This is the low-hanging fruit. Often plans don't do this. The steering committee thought it was important that we do it as part of this project. So a brief overview. Again, guys, if you can see the plan, you know this stuff, okay? But I just wanted to say, here's our first system, natural and built environment, goals. And by the way, this vision is really what guides it. So it can't be sort of tossed away. I'm not going to read this, but this is the guiding sort of idea. Maybe I'll do it just for this one. Indiana will be a place that preserves the buildings and outdoor spaces that make it great while encouraging adaptive reuse and context-sensitive new development. By the way, there's a glossary in there. So this stuff gets a little too academic or high level or whatever. We got a glossary in there. I forgot who recommended that, but we included it. Goals. Create a balanced land use controls, protect the historic environment. This was a critical thing. We heard this a lot. Spur development activity and cohesive parks and open space system. The strategies, again, a little more detail. Won't go through those. There's too many. Downtown, economy of downtown. This was our second community-wide system. The vision here, regional commerce and culture, engaging entrepreneurship, improving public spaces, and increasing downtown activity through festivals, events, and the arts. You see the goals that are associated with this vision and then the strategies that are included. The third system is healthy neighborhoods. Indiana will be a place, we envision Indiana as a place made up of welcoming neighborhoods where people feel safe and included. The goals, there's only 3 here. Re-inhabit abandoned student homes, enable greater housing diversity, meaning not just single family detached homes, multifamily structures is a good example of that. Promote social cohesion among neighbors. Building community was a really big part of this plan. We heard it over and over and over again. The strategies that are associated with that, create and fund and operate a housing rehabilitation program, align housing supply with housing demand. We don't know a lot about housing in this community. We know some things. We don't fully know the things that we need to do in terms of targeted investments in terms of housing. Incentivize events in non-traditional spaces. This was big, the events was big, festivals were big. We heard that kind of stuff all the time. Where can we have festivals other than festivals downtown? So one of the things that you see, again, just giving an example, is something called an open streets program, which is using streets for some of these things that people are desiring in the community. Adopting anchors is the fourth of the 5 systems. Connect and support anchor institutions. We've identified these as IUP, RMC, the school district, government, and community-based organizations in ways that create new opportunities for shared success. You see the goals and the strategies. So the last system is mobility and connections. Indiana will be a place that prioritizes connecting people and with places, prioritizing mobility as an economic driver. We're seeing more and more communities that prioritize investments in mobility. We can think about mobility as vehicles, walking, biking, riding scooters, whatever it is. But these communities are more successful than communities that don't prioritize those investments. Invest in active transportation, connecting people to streets and improving wayfinding and shining. This is where is probably the most fun to spend time. There's 11 catalytic projects that are identified in the plan. I don't mean to give you my back there.
No, that's all right.
Okay, okay. So the first one is in the natural built environment. There's, I think, 3 catalytic projects in natural built environment. Again, low hanging fruit. If you read the plan, what you'll see is that there's missing park space in the borough. Like if you look at the numbers, what do we measure that by? There's baselines that we can measure it by. There's a standard in terms of recreation and park space. And when you look at the borough's park spaces, we're below that average, meaning we need those spaces, right? We don't have to have them. We've survived this long without them. But if we want to attract residents, retain residents, this is going to be a spot where you need to consider investments. The Marsh Run corridor, obviously lots of flooding in the area, but what we did is looked at the corridor and said, could we think about it as an anchor and spoke system? So if we thought about the northernmost, this is McGregor Park up here, guys, again, you can get into the plan and look at it, McGregor Park, and then we said, well, could we have some hubs along that corridor? And then if we thought about the southern end would be Discovery Park, Confluence Discovery Park.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, good. And so this would be a park system that would consist of really 6 parks. Several of them already exist. So these parks are detailed in the write up in the plan, but essentially McGregor Park, the northernmost end. Then we've got Philadelphia Street Park, got a conceptual here. We're thinking about something where this fire had destroyed the home. It's now owned by the borough. We do have site control. Home was raised, and we could have something that celebrates this greenway. Guys, who's been in a community that has greenways, that has identified greenways? Any comments or thoughts about the role of a greenway in a community? John?
I mean, they're used for transportation a lot, like when I lived in the Netherlands especially, right? Like there's parks that connect like major features, and then there's canal walkways.
Yeah.
And everybody rides their bike or takes a walk at least like once or twice a day to go get what they need. Or even just for, exercise, hang out and sit on by the water. It's
Right, to reconnect them, right. So that's the reason is, instead of me just yelling at you guys for 20 minutes, I'm trying to get you guys involved, but I've been in lots of communities that have greenways. Greenways are a neat thing, and they can be passive or active. Passive meaning they can just be a greenway that you pass and go, oh, it's kind of neat. Or you can have a place where you can sit down and have a picnic, take a nap, visit with friends, or, do whatever you want. The idea here is that if this is a greenway, we're celebrating this, Marsh Run is right here, this is Rite Aid, this is, and now it's, I think, a dog place.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is just a vacant space there. So what happens if we energize that space? Again, guys, this plan stays at 50,000 feet. It doesn't get into the details, the engineering. It doesn't, we're planning, and there's certain areas or hubs along this corridor that are planned. We don't have site control, but the idea is to plan for those spaces conceptually. The next is right across the street. This is, Church Street, the parking area for the church that's there. This is Sheets. This is the car wash. What could we rethink this space behind that's just currently just sitting there, okay? And then the other parks here is this is the Midway Greenway Hub. This is an area that's right along, I think, 4th and
think it's Elm
No,
Street.
Fifth and Sixth Streets, it's in between along the, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh, Elm Street.
Elm Street dead ends
Yeah.
there, right? Elm Street dead ends in this little park. How could we reuse those spaces? Confluence Discovery Park has already been planned. They have a full master plan. They're struggling to find the funding for those, for that park. Future planning, guys, I could run you through each one of these steps. One of the things Luke said, who was part of it, is tell us what are the next steps. Don't just say these ideas, build the steps. First this, then this, and then this. And so future planning steps are associated with each of these catalytic projects. The next is Confluence Discovery Park. Again, already a full master plan. This is available online. The links are in the plan. I would spend a minute and look at this because even though I was involved, I actually was on their board. Even though I was involved, I didn't realize the extent to which that property has been planned. The environmental, the EA, they've already done their phase 2. Go ahead, Luke.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I also have the big paper one in my office if you don't want to look online.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah, I have the big one. Yeah.
All right, so good. So the idea here is that this park, even though it's beyond the border of the boundary, it's in White Township, okay? But if you forget about where the park is in terms of municipal boundaries, it would serve, obviously, the IUP population, all those neighborhoods that are there, because we do things like a 15-minute walk shed. Typically, people aren't gonna walk longer than 15 minutes to get anywhere. But if you do that for this, you can see that it covers a lot of the neighborhoods in the borough. Grand Park, this is probably the biggest new idea in here. This is something that the Planning Commission thought really important, specifically Nick Karras, who has served on the Planning Commission for a really long time, but it's also something that has tons of potential. So this is Oakland Avenue. This is the carriage house down here. These are the tennis courts. Then here we just have a big open park or potential park. It's a parking lot right now. And then of course, White's Run. You've got 3 runs that come through. Stony being the smallest, White, and then Marsh Run being the largest. And we actually have site control here. This is something the borough owns. This is just a big giant vacant space. Next time you're taking a walk, you can go and see it. There's nothing in there. And
Who
then
owns it?
this here, that is owned by multiple property owners. Okay, multiple property, privately held here too. So this would take a lot of work and is something maybe long-term. All of these park spaces that are proposed require master planning, meaning there's one level of planning. You can't just conceptually say, well, that's going to be a park. There's a step in between there. Yeah. And then the details here. This is, again, conceptual. Could we think about stormwater education again, that we do get flooding along these corridors? Could we think about it as a gathering space? Could we think about it as a play area and walking trails and passive recreation and mixed land use, which even, are there things that are associated with the park, but still could be, have an economic sort of piece to that development? And future planning is there. All right, then we go to the economy of downtown, which is the second community-wide system. What are the catalytic projects there? I think there's 3. The first is the IRMC Park update project. Obviously, this is looking from Vinegar Hill down into the park. These are some of the elements: plaza, entrance space, a lawn, interactive water feature. This was interesting. Why do planners recommend this stuff? Because it's the #1 thing that people want in a park is an interactive water feature. It is possible, and there's lots of different options there. Play sculptures, multi performance feature space, which is already kind of happening on this end of the park frequently. Campus sheets. This is a major corridor. If you look at the ADTs in the community, meaning how much traffic is there. How much, Philadelphia Street, 7th Street, Wayne Avenue, and Oakland Avenue. This is a major gateway for this community. When we come in, it's just this big, giant, vacant building. It's actually a nice building, but how could we reuse that space?
Speaking of that, the pizza flooded.
Yeah.
And I was too big a building there.
You really
Right,
need
too
this
big.
one when you're coming out.
Okay.
This one is very visible.
Some of the ideas that the steering committee had in the planning commission was maybe it could be a welcome center, an arts and coffee venue, or maybe a university related use. Some Universities will locate their bookstore in the heart of the commercial district to demonstrate that sort of interconnected interest for both the university and the community at large. The other one is the Western Gateway Project. This is the western end of the Main Street. This is Philadelphia Street here. This is where the streetscape is already done. As you know, the streetscape really stopped in large part right along 10th Street and then down to the train tracks. And so how could we think about extending the streetscape project into that part of Main Street? There's some ideas here, another conceptual food truck area, updated streetscape, curb extensions, rain gardens, sharrows, again, multimodal approach, and murals and sculptures, celebrating art and the large art culture that is already present here in Indiana Borough. Healthy neighborhoods is the third system. This is the McGregor Park update. This already has funding. This is low-hanging fruit. Was awarded, I think, at the end of last year. Right?
Yeah, last week, actually.
Last week, okay. Okay, so this year. So already has some funding. The big idea here is how do we think about it as an anchor and how do we engage the community in telling us what they would like in the park. If you've done the one-on-ones, we've spent some time talking a little bit about that. There's already a design that's been advanced by a group of wonderful students at IUP as part of a project that was Appalachian Regional Commission, I think. And so there's some preliminary ideas that came out of that effort and worth noting. They're a little more detailed in the plan itself. This is the Essex and Carriage House project. Again, another low-hanging fruit. ICDC, Indiana County Development Corporation, ICDC, thank you, is there. I need a chocolate bar. Okay, so, but this is already in process. This is another key gateway, all right? In terms of traffic, Oakland Avenue carries the most traffic of all of the three that I mentioned. So another key gateway. Again, right along the municipal boundary, but again, one of the things that we did as part of this, if you look at the old plans, you see it's the donut, and the donut hole is like, you know, there's an, you know, largely ignoring that there's things beyond the boundary that don't stop, like roads and streams. And so the same thing, if you do this, when you're looking at this project, how does this become an asset for the borough, but also something that can be considered in a broader context? It's already scheduled for demolition, connect with the ICDC board, continue the partnership with the ICDC, line development strategy with a better understanding of housing needs in the borough, and work with selected developer to streamline the approval process. One of the big things that happens, we're hoping as part of the plan, is that to identify these projects and then streamline the approval process. And the reason for doing that is to accelerate the development that happens there. But there is obviously, there's a big difference between good development and bad development, but this is something that is as identified as good development. The Horace Mann Elementary School, at the end of this academic year, they're going to be moving out of that building. What happens to that building? We can be proactive as a borough in terms of engaging in the planning process for how that is being considered. And obviously the zoning there could be something included in the zoo project, already a topic of conversation in that project. Research into cell basic, there's not, if you look at, I'll keep moving fast here, but if you look at, you know, community centers, housing projects, age in place type of places, and even economic development, or using it as a tool to house maybe community-based organizations. All of that is detailed in the plan. The fourth system is adopting anchors. The one thing that's identified here is a university community connection or community university connection. There's tons of great examples of creating a physical connection between the university campus and the downtown, or the heart of the community, the geographic center of the community. My favorite story about this is the people that stop me and say, hey, can you tell me where IUP is? It's a perfect example of the disconnect in terms of the physical connection between the university and community. This is detailed, there's actually a conceptual rendering, was created by Michael Baker. But what would happen if we push these buildings that are back here and kind of this weird staggered? What happens if we push that stuff up? What happens if we do it on this side? What happens if we use where we have site control, which is a borough parking lot here, and rethink that as a public space, which is a big priority in terms of community outreach, rethink this, and how do we use a gateway as a way to celebrate what's on the other end. You know, this is a 2-block section. Again, more details in the plan itself. And DI, I think, has picked this up and is doing, is moving it forward in the initial phases here. Now, this is the last system, and this is the roundabout gateway and redevelopment idea. This was something that, if you think about this weird 5-spoke intersection here, and then of course this is the Essex and Carriage House, and then that intersection there. This is again detailed. How could we rethink this in terms of gateways? And these are the conceptual renderings of the Wayne Avenue intersection with a roundabout and redevelopment around it. And this is conceptual of the 13th Street and Oakland Avenue intersection and what it could conceptually look like there. Again, thinking about the center of that roundabout as a gateway opportunity. That's it. Okay, I did pretty doggone good. What's my counter say?
Stop.
Pretty darn good.
Said about the roundabout, we actually met with PennDOT. It was just a good timing, and you know, some of their vision is right on with that too, I would say. On some of those areas coming in the borough, you know.
All right, good. Any other questions? Guys, I threw a lot of stuff at you. Hopefully, it looks like I did see some nods, so it looks like you may have looked at it. Beforehand. Anything? What? Questions? Okay. All right, good.
Thank you.
Jeff and Trajan, they're gonna present it to the staff meeting on Friday. They're presenting this presentation to the staff, which is great. And then are you doing this presentation full blown presentation again on the 18th?
We are planning to go. Organizations, kind of like partners or groups that we worked with through the comp plan process to kind of give them another rundown of what all we got through, so that's something also. Keep in mind.
So that's good. And then, of course, you have it. We switched it to 8.5 by 11. I brought this just in case. Yeah, everybody should have a hard copy.
Like a coffee.
I have one in my office.
And I brought some over.
No, this,
Forward.
It's like,
No, we'll find it.
Good. And Eden and Trey are going to be updating the website, doing some things in terms of making sure the community is aware that a new plan is here. So
Yeah, it was already, I think, today on the Facebook page. My wife saw it.
yeah, and the website is updated now. So.
Thanks.
Hey, good job.
Invite
Yeah.
That one I have on my.
Yeah,
he's lives in there, big semester. I leave it right on the desk. Yeah, and then they tailored it down to this one. I'll show you that.
All right. Any other questions for Jeff before he Which one takes on?
It's a great publication.
Oh,
He sent me the link to the thing. I spent a couple hours just going through it. And, I like the ideas, even if we can't do all of them, it gives us a good
Sure.
basis.
Pushing off.
We're gonna do
I
it.
don't wanna hear about that negativity. Okay, I'll gather you next time you say we can't do them all.
There's no way we can afford to do all.
It's great. On that attitude is not.
It's great. Good job. There's one. Big sale.
Oh, what is
Big
it?
sale.
What do you think?
Yeah.
And there's some case.
Anyway, okay, moving on to committee reports. Peter, you're up, sir.
Great. We have some things that need to be voted on, although we've all done it before. Now we're ready. The first two have to do with pensions. So we're gonna move first to advertise the non-management pension ordinance. Amending the management employees pension plan. To bring it in line with it. And that doesn't need a second.
Yep, we talked about this in the committee. It's done. Just technically spending money, money's involved, let's zero.
Broad,
Yes,
Palazzo. Yes. DeBowser.
Yes.
Brick. Yeah. Lancaster.
Yes.
Noel. Yes. Sarniso.
Yes.
Smith. 8 yes, 0 no.
similarly. Really moves to approve the management pension ordinance. Doing the same thing. Or management, sorry.
Manager.
Nope, we just did non-management, now we're doing management.
Thank you.
Is any further discussion? We'll just think we need. Okay, so in which case then, we can do a roll call.
Yes. Broad,
Yes,
Palazzo.
Yes.
DeBowser.
Yes.
Brick.
Yes.
Lancaster.
Yes.
Noel.
Yes.
Sarniso.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
for alternate to the Shade Tree Commission. Jason,
That shouldn't say alternate, it should say,
Is
it
it
should say
on the-
on the shade tree, he was an alternate, and then somebody stepped out, yeah, he needs to be appointed to shade tree commission.
I don't remember discussing this at the committee.
We did it, because it just came, that's probably need the second.
Move and second. Any other discussion on this? I mean, I hadn't heard about this, the shade tree in favor?
They brought it to us.
Which case?
Sorry.
Sure.
Right.
Cause he's been sitting in a lot of these meetings.
He was the alternate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I can interrupt, I
Yeah.
rearranged my schedule that I can now attend those. If
You
anybody
can-
else wants to do shade tree, they're welcome to, but if not, I'd be happy to pick up some. But I slacked off.
Well,
Me personally.
yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
okay, in which case then, no money spent, all in favor of motion, by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, Jason.
All right.
Still there. Can you do, you're doing it, sir.
How did we- There's not much of anything from the administration.
Okay, then community development, community development update was, we just walked out the door. I think the big thing, there's a couple, updates on, like the zoo for moving along, I think. There's a couple, they split into zones, and a couple of the zones have been up for public comment, et cetera. In the minutes, there's not a lot in the minutes, but frankly, the biggest thing was the comp plan. Unless anyone has any other, I mean, you know, if anyone feels any part of this comp plan, we need to talk about, obviously. I mean, that's why we wanted to delay it and give us a chance to react to it and discuss any part of it that we wanted to, could that be this moment, but. That's all I really have for community development, so if anyone has any. council related input on this that isn't about implementation or usage or anything like that, like, go ahead, Jamie.
I just feel like as huge and great as this is, feel like we're missing so much for kids. I don't know.
I
What
mean,
else?
a lot of the parks and what have you probably would, and I think part of that too is, in there, as you go through there, some of them will reference other plans. One is the, what's it called, the
The park plan, the
Thank you.
comprehensive parks and open space plan.
Right,
So as we create that, we'd be able to make sure that we're targeting things for, like in those park spaces specifically, for children and what have you, that obviously hasn't been made
I
yet.
just want to get kids off the internet and make them so excited about coming into the community and doing more
And
and
work
being
with
served.
parents on
Okay, or parks in the community.
Let's have a cheap babysitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
Any other, comp plan related discussion points at this time? A lot of people have reviewed it, plus the presentation, but okay, that was what I had for community. Moving on to, public safety.
I have nothing to mention about public safety unless Lieutenant has anything you want to say.
No, not, just the. Wait for public safety.
Yeah.
Okay,
I thought I noticed in your minutes, although it doesn't show up in the action things. An event that needs to be approved.
So,
St. Patrick's Day Parade, did he file that?
those are.
Yeah, it's already done.
Did we approve that at the work session? or-
Pending council approval. Ready, oh, but that's already been.
No, March
Okay.
18th.
Or not St. Patrick's.
Now, is that,
You're right.
how would that be classified? Because they had it, then it went away and it came back. Would that still need to come through on?
Yeah.
It says right here pending council approval. We just missed it on the action items.
Okay, then.
Because you're Peter.
Yeah.
Job. Because he didn't have the paperwork in at that.
you have the paperwork in?
Yep.
Okay, let's, then we'll go to, can we do that? Just
Yeah.
make the motion?
You just need a second, right?
Yeah, make a motion, I make a motion.
In favor? Was it or was it in?
No second. Right.
Yeah,
He was here and said,
Yeah.
okay.
So do we need a second or don't we?
yes, he did.
Okay,
Make a motion to, we find here, that, permit the, St. Patrick's Day Parade on Philadelphia Street from Fifth to Eighth Street on March 15th at 11 a.m.
any discussion? In which case then, all in favor, we're not spending the money, we're spending the money.
They're spending the money, we're just giving a permit.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
Thanks, Peter.
I'm gonna suck for getting nothing. You need about your fruit.
I forgot about it because I wrote the notes.
You good with public safety?
Anything else for public safety?
No.
On to public works?
We have some motion. But first, there's still a lot of construction, because gas is out and about. Yeah, doing things. Everywhere. Yeah, sure.
We came from a meeting with.
Yeah, so it appears as though they can just skip any sidewalk that somebody tells them to skip. And then go into the street. So there are several homes on our street, that they just skip the sidewalk. What I've been told is those people said, don't touch my sidewalk.
Yeah.
And so they went to fix their lines through the street,
Yeah.
which caused a lot less mayhem. Is there a way we can put an ordinance that says you gotta go through the street? Is there a way we can do this? Cause you could just walk down North Street, just walk down, cause you can't drive it. And you'll see what a mess it is. And the borough just made a lot of us pay for sidewalks, which we have no knowledge of this coming. So we all just paved a bunch of sidewalks and now they went through and just tore them all up. So who knows when. both sides of the street too. So I don't know, I feel like when I realized that these two homes, they could access it through the street, like they had to tear up the street instead of the sidewalks, create a lot less difficulty. So if that's an option, why isn't it always used?
I don't know. Today's, I don't know if it's because they weren't allowed to go on the sidewalks or that's where the pipe was running.
No, they weren't allowed. I know the neighbors.
I don't think people guess. If you walk down my street, you'll see half sidewalk, where they only have half the sidewalk off, and that's the other half.
Yeah.
And one section only has 8 inches by 3 feet of sidewalk left, they cut around that section for some reason, who knows?
Is there a way we can say, these are our rules and unless, this is what you have to do if you're able and perhaps we could
Can we do that?
save ourselves a lot
Can we
of.
do that?
Right.
We can look into it and see.
That would love to.
Yeah, I mean, we did it with the paving, you have to do that or the curb, but
That's more of a restoration.
yeah, yeah.
If possible, you must access through the street, and if not, then you can access through sidewalks, because if you walk down the street, you'll see why it would be better for the public to have, and
It's
I
cheaper
want.
to access with the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Significant, yes.
Cause they're gonna
Yeah,
have to
definitely
pay
do
the
way
whole.
less.
You have to pave the whole road and that's so much more expensive putting.
So on that note, though, can we do the same thing, tell them they can't split skips clams? Because if they're gonna redo 3/4 of a street,
I don't know.
you know, something like that. Like, I don't know what allowed to do.
Want them on the 21st. Yeah.
So I would talk to Paul. And have that, you know, at that meeting, figure out where you're at. It's also something that I can look into to see if we can, see if there's anything out there that we can.
We could.
I think what we could do, we can beef up the ordinance, like, hey.
Yeah,
they
just
make-
expand that restoration for next to.
Then the sidewalk is free.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to go through the sidewalk on the street, that's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Cause I would think that hard white cement would be more expensive than asphalt.
No, because when I found place a ladder on my house, it was $5,000 just to go through a sidewalk or 15 grand.
If they.
Oh, yeah.
So.
That explains why they did it then, but I'll tell you. It's not nice, and I'm on Borough, so I know we had no idea that they were coming to do this. But if some, do this to somebody else's house, and they would be so annoyed that they paid their sidewalk, only to have it torn out, so. Anyway, there's
It
my,
could just be someone out there real grumpy and some of these kids are like, literally, I saw 3 teenagers putting together pipes. I mean, maybe they're. Probably convincing like, don't do this, it's not allowed, like.
I wish I thought of my report, don't touch.
Spray painted us.
But yeah, concerned that we are, like, again, I don't even know how, but it's somehow gonna fall, it's his office. Yeah, and so it's not, it's a problem all over the borough. It gets happened, microcode enforcement, right, but, yeah, I mean.
It was my street, when they weren't even working on my street, simply because they had some of their things still parked on my street. So in order for me to get in and out to drop kids at school all day long, I was really, why is my street closed? Nobody's even working on my street.
Gravel, right next to no parking sign. So cars can't be there, this enormous pile of gravel is not a problem.
I think we need to rein them in a little bit, or have a conversation and see if there's a nice happy medium. Sorry to jump in on your thing, but it's.
I don't know the answer to that question.
We didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like, it sounds like we could maybe try to, like, the ones we have to.
Brenda.
Other things.
You know, they do.
Restore.
City, so they do have, they have a little bit more.
Yeah.
Worthy than. They like.
Alright, other things related to public works, there was a big emergency, which got those emails about the flooding, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That we discussed, and also opening an operator and training position, did that get listed?
It got posted
Got
in-house,
posted.
it got posted in-house.
Okay.
So we can put it out for bid now, or we can put it out for advertisement.
Oh, go to the union and all that jazz for changing.
And they've been out repairing a couple days. The streets, yes.
Yeah. The
Public
funnels, yeah,
Yeah, we got some big meetings.
yeah.
There's some really big ones, yeah. We're not responsible for 6th Street, is that PennDOT, are they gonna do that? It's rough. By Sixth and Water. Some
Mhm.
big holes.
Well,
Right.
yeah, Sixth Street, I'll have to look at.
That's
That's PennDOT,
that's
yeah.
not us. That's what I, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone that large on such a main road. That would be ours. So I figured it was a PennDOT thing. There's like 3 or 4 giant holes.
It just, somebody did a cut across Philly Street too, and I can't wait for snow. I don't know what that one was. What is the rule? Sorry, I'm jumping ahead here, it's public, works, right? When they cut a foot wide strip,
It has to be.
you
a
go from center to the road, it was only a foot wide and it never stays within a foot.
Did that on Water Street.
They did it all up and down Church Street, they did it across Philly Street, they do it all over the place.
Eventually, they're gonna have to pave it
It is how much of it,
to the center line.
right, but it's a foot wide across the middle, like
I think,
curb to curb, it's only a foot wide.
yeah, but I think it's a certain number of feet.
Okay, there is a rule though.
Yeah, it's in the ordinance they passed.
I like the plywood. Plywood's nice.
They've been leaving it different places. I see it. I have free plywood. Do you need it? I thought about taking it actually.
Litter, she's just picking up litter.
I have a few sheets. There's no one's name on it. They're just sitting there. Finders keepers.
Top for trash.
Yeah. Finders keepers. All right, let's go ahead, our motions. These are our Stifler. All right, so Stifler McGraw and Associates notice to proceed. We have got 2 of these. The move to approve the NTP provided by Stifler McGraw and Associates for wastewater treatment plant projects 2024-2 electrical work.
Just a second, we have one, so any other further
We
discussion?
didn't discuss it at the meeting.
We ran out of time.
Yeah, okay.
That's that.
I'll take you next second.
Yeah.
Then. And then, do you want to give it 30-second version, or I mean?
It's the electrical work related to this specific section. Yeah.
Was this because of the, or is it a different?
Yeah,
It's just
that,
The standard rule was gonna be happening
Yeah.
again.
part of the upgrade.
Yeah.
Okay, in which case then. The roll call then, or is this the one, we're not yet? I forgot what it is. Need notice to proceed, what is,
It's approved their electrical work that they've done. They're not doing the electrical work, this is just their plan.
so, what
We've already
exactly
paid
are we?
for it. So move forward with that plan to use that plan to do things.
Yeah. They have to do the bid.
Yeah, so we can put it out to bid. We got to
Okay. I don't know if we're spending money or not.
We already
I can't
did,
tell. So,
because we paid.
Yeah, I would just do it. I'm gonna do it, you don't need a roll call, because it's just.
all right, that's what I want to make sure. In which case then, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
All right, this is the second one. This is for general mechanical work. Move to approve the NTP provided by Stifler McGraw and Associates for wastewater treatment plant projects 2024-1, general mechanical.
And a second, all right. Any further discussion on this one? Same thing, right? This is just the other side of that plan we had already talked about before, what's
Yeah.
that road?
Yeah.
Super. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion. carried.
I don't think I have Public Works unless somebody has a question.
No, one comment though, tomorrow they will be, 8th Street will remain closed tomorrow, and they are completing the tie-ins onto Philadelphia Street, so between 7th and 9th will be closed, or between 7th and 9th on Philadelphia Street, yeah, they'll be tying in the 8th Street. And I get for sure 8th Street, all of those things that have had Philadelphia torn up, they're tying in tomorrow, so there will be some additional commotion on Philadelphia Street.
So arm
You said
side
it
up.
would be 7.
9th.
block
They
traffic.
just patched Carpenter today. Yeah.
They will have the road planned.
Yeah, there will be some obstruction on Philadelphia Street between 7th and 9th tomorrow. But I don't have a time.
They're gonna come back.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah, one thing that's needed to put together. cheap labor. Yeah, I mean, it's fun, not really, but
Use for the kids.
yeah, they're not on their tablet. No, you're right, maybe it's a work program, maybe the retired church.
All right. Moving.
Good.
All right, commissioner reports. Peter, anything new from planning?
Minutes in the packet.
How many times do we need to approve complete street? Me.
I feel we already proved that. I'm more complete.
There was a discussion of planning priorities for this year, which look in order, the comp plan, the Zoom, the ARB, and implementation of the comp plan. Other than that, we've got comp plan. And then we also had a discussion of Patty Bell properties.
Oh.
Is there an update here?
I can see that if you want.
I know, now we're in 3 times on the three names down, what to do? Well, he brought it up, go ahead.
The update is that we will be acquiring 3 of the Patty Bell properties. And that she is listing for sale 2 of the other ones. She has to do it within 6 months. She has 6 months to get it on the market, and then once they sell, then a portion of our fees and costs that we incurred will be reimbursed to us out of the sale. So the ones that were really bad, we're taking. And a vacant lot that we can turn around and list for sale if we wish. You're asking me now, and I wanna say
Washington, but the problem is, the one is landlocked, so it's up.
yeah,
It's gonna be hard to get to, Peter, I think we talked about this at planning, so, yes, one of them is landlocked and it's gonna be less than neighbors would buy it then. Hopefully.
Well,
it can happen.
there has to be a right of way, there is a right of way for ingress, egress, and regress. You can't have a landlocked property. That you can't, I mean,
I know, but and you've probably gone up there, it's,
I'm not saying it's an easy egress and regress, but they have to let you get in and out. But my point is, to avoid further litigation, to avoid the sheriff's sales. It's not gonna be sheriff's sale, so we are getting deeds, we will have them hopefully within the next couple of weeks. The
And
judge issued an order last week.
Yeah.
So,
and then. The next community development meeting, Brenda will have on there, she talked to Elizabeth Hudson, they do, almost like a Homes for Humanity type of thing where.
we did the one down.
And then, but this one's a little different, they sell it and the money goes to an organization or something. So.
So, yeah.
I think Elizabeth Hudson's coming. To the meeting.
What was her question?
Did the one on Big sold get her in?
Oh, yeah, it's sold very quickly, I believe.
But did you also? I feel like I heard you both start talking to. Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's a
what
good
happens-
resolution.
What happens in 6 months when they're not listed for sale? Or if she lists them for a ridiculous amount of, way above the word.
Then we can sheriff sell
If she doesn't play nice, you can go to the judge. She
Yes.
ain't playing nice,
Correct.
raise for 100. She
Yep.
listens for $500,000.
them. Yep, and we put language in, the judge put language in the order for those.
When she sells them, how much of that money comes back to the borough, huh?
Yeah, no, she has to pay, we settle on the amount. I wanna say it's either, no, I thought it was more than that. I'd have to look at the order, I don't remember, I know it's less than what we originally asked for, but
Satisfied.
was it 7,500? But it'll help cover our costs and,
Yeah.
but anyway, I'll look and see, I didn't bring it with you tonight. Sure. But it's all done.
We got 3 houses in vacant or 2
Now,
houses.
2 houses, a vacant lot, and she has to sell the other 2 in 6 months. I'll get them for you. Yeah,
You get around.
these were the properties that. Years and.
That's, yes, Betsy was here, like, right. Yes.
Anyway, all right.
That's the one that they can sell.
Anything else for planning?
One other note here, that we would to present, make a formal presentation of the complete stakes program to Vicky Spellman.
Doesn't make any sense.
In
person.
Yeah,
But she chose mine this week.
I know. I know.
Is
Is she here?
that's a nice.
Oh, I missed that part of the,
Maybe she's coming, she's gonna come to the
Council.
the council.
I've been planning.
this case then. I mean, is somebody gonna?
Well, Trey asked Trey.
Yeah, well, I'll ask her.
You will follow the train?
Yeah, yeah.
He took them.
Okay.
That's all.
Shade Tree, did anyone go to Shade Tree?
I did. No, they're still working on, they have a list of trees that they wanna, so the electric company, the electric came and called Brian and said, okay, we have these trees, we'll cut them down for you, or we'll trim them, was the way.
Butcher is how you pronounce it.
So the conversation went, let's let the electric company cut them down, because that's on their dime, and then they'll cut them down and grind them and that, and then they'll be on the plan to replace them with the trees that work better in that area. Well, there was a big discussion that why are we letting them do that? And so it wasn't it went back and forth, not all the committee agreed on if they should all come down or not. So they settled on a certain amount and not all. So they're gonna revisit that. They're still working on their plans to what they have to plant. Church Street is involved. in
They
that.
planted a tree. I got a grumpy neighbor text me. My response was, really, and we are peak month season here, folks. They get it as delicate as possible with bud time, but
and so that they went back and forth on the areas and, we went over their financials and what they had left and what the plan is, how much they want to spend and plan. And then, Jason, then they approved for Jason to sit on the thing. Now that opens up an alternate, so we have two alternate positions that are, Sarah Stillman's an alternate, and then if Betsy wants to be an alternate. And I asked you, said yes,
I heard you say something about you were gonna transfer. So I said I could attend the meeting if Tammy's gonna.
oh, for council.
Usually we tag team.
We'll see if she can make it.
You can.
Arrange her schedule so she can.
So, yeah, that's it, and then,
I guess my question for, no one would have this answer in the room, but my question would be, they're letting a lot of trees be removed and cut down. And they don't seem to have an idea of whether or not they're actually allowed to plant new trees, or the borough has to plant the trees. And so they're getting awful far behind here. Like all the Church Street trees, for example, there was a discussion whether or not the Union could plant them, or if Shade Tree could plant them. Same thing when there's a bunch of trees on Philadelphia Street, same question.
yeah, no, we, yes, the Church Street ones, we can hire somebody to get them done, because that's part of the side. That's all gonna be a big program, one big project, I mean. So we can hire somebody to plant that. The other ones, yes, our parks have to plant.
Okay, so Shade Tree, hire people.
They can, but we don't need them to hire. They don't.
That wasn't the point. If they have a level of autonomy, they can hire someone to plant
They
trees.
could,
They
yeah.
don't need a waiver from the borough. Or
That's-
they don't, and they do.
They just won't make up the shade tree won't make up their decision what they want to plant. They can't all agree on what trees to plant.
Majority needs. to-
Church Street, if I told them we can hire another company, then we just move forward on that?
Yes.
Do we do that? Do they do that?
No, we can do that, which we are planning on doing it, but I was told that you can only, did they start planting trees?
They can drive down Church Street and look, like
Or
it
just-
was on the other end of Church Street or something. Well, we got a tree now it's muddy.
Maybe if somebody contracted and lined up to do it.
Yes. I think our crew was planning it.
I don't think that was contractor,
They were
not-
planning on doing it.
not in February.
But we wanted to get the sidewalks done first before we wanted to have the sidewalks done first before they planted trees.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. They planted a tree. So somebody planted this tree.
I did it without
Planted my
community
tree. Someone's standing there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, in which case then.
Do it.
I would be planting that tree, thank you, tree.
We have to start getting.
Okay.
Yes. I'll go. I'm going. I switched to
Moving
meeting.
on to anything else for the shade tree that no representatives are here? Okay.
True.
Personnel report. Paul, you've been talking, you want to just keep talking?
Other than the garbage, with the issues we had with the garbage, the first couple months, I guess. Going into it, they did do bulk pickup right now. Because with waste management not having the direct line posted where somebody can call and schedule a bulk pickup, they have agreed to wait until April until the bins are put out, till they deliver the containers, that we'll just follow the bulk pickup that's online, that's posted the calendar, so it's once a month. It's the first week of every month when your normal garbage, like fourth ward is Tuesday, like my bulk pickup was today, so you're allowed 2 bulk items to be put out. The garbage is still the same, long as everything's in the bag. Again, the rules haven't changed with waste, paint and that's still not allowed. Special project stuff is not allowed. Again, in the past, I think some of our residents got spoiled because waste management did pick up that stuff. Again, it was never allowed, but so I think waste management's being a little bit more strict now. They're not picking up any waste material. You can call that number and arrange a free pickup for that. Eden, she actually did it and it works. So that's a free service, part of the service that we now have. You can get rid of any cleaning supplies, paint, stuff like that. So we will continue to post updates on that. That seemed to be the biggest issue with residents. We kind of have calmed them down a little bit. And I think they'll adjust to it. It's gonna take some time.
So in fairness to the people, I remember it being, nothing's gonna change until education is done and a lot of posts have been put out in the spring. And so if they're now changing things without that process and time, I have a problem with management. If they've been picking things up, they should have kept picking things up. Until they've done all the things that they said they were gonna do.
And they're also picking up at 5:45 a.m.
Yes.
That's the new thing.
They always.
That's a garbage truck thing because they only have so much time in a day.
Okay.
If they can run into this, I'm working.
They didn't do that.
The driver has the discretion when to begin. is what I'm-
That's not true. They can't start before 6 a.m.
They did there 2 weeks in a row for certain. Thanks, my baby.
We'll have to check on that because, that it's actually in there.
I thought maybe they were doing the construction on our street, but I don't think they're that organized. Maybe they are.
Am I right that the rule is that you can't put stuff out until 6:30 the night before pickup? But in my neighborhood, it's all goes out at least 24 hours before. Sometimes 36 hours.
You tell him.
Yeah.
My only concern is, did the people promising that nothing was gonna change until April bother to tell all the other folks? Because if the truck drivers didn't get that memo, the truck drivers are gonna be doing different things than we were told.
I think the truck drivers got the wrong memo. they got the early memo, hey, this switched over.
That's what I'm getting at.
Again, but we did get that worked out, and they did go back and pick up all the ones that people called about and said, they did go back and pick. So Waste Management did go and make it right and pick up the stuff.
So I don't think, I guess there's one in fairness to our. Does anyone else remember that? It wasn't gonna change until the education.
And it's even gonna be a grace period, once the bids have been dropped off, that we're gonna let people get used to this longer.
Yeah, like about the overflowing of the garbage and that, yeah, but nobody has the bid, so continue to put the bags. I just think there was some miscommunication with the drivers, so.
Is there anything new on the recycling bars? Did anybody-
Wow.
But she's no, co-chairperson. So like, she had a meeting where she didn't have a meeting, so.
Everybody's retired, they're all retired, and they're all like, nobody wants it, and I was like.
She's like, I don't really want to, I really want to. No.
So this is the issue with the bars. And I found this out, we can't separate, there's no way to separate the brown bottles from the other bottles. Like,
The colors.
so we don't have that capability yet. Maybe that's something we can work on, so, but, what we need to do is educate the bars, if they take it down to Waste Management, or take it down to the recycling center. And actually weigh it, the credit would come back to us, like.
Okay, why would a bar owner truck thousands of pounds of bottles from the city and get nothing out of it?
What did they do to?
Which should be just
throw it out.
They throw it away, see.
chuck it in the dumpster.
Yeah, but it's like, I think. You know, it's not, some bars do, alcohols, they do.
Is there no way to give them separate bins and actually put around? Now, they may say no or be limited in their ability, but any level of recycling.
We talked,
is enough.
this is the meeting, we talked about you on there, and the one lady's like, no bartenders.
Yeah, but she said they do have these programs in Pittsburgh that run successfully. There is a mandatory recycling policy. So
Okay.
she's on a fact finding, I forget her name.
It was, not.
The younger.
Yeah, well,
She
Sonia,
used to live in.
yes, yeah.
She's going on, she's gonna talk to her friends that still work in the industry in Pittsburgh and see what
Gotcha.
there's.
See if there's something can be done.
So that's the issue, that right now our trucks are, we can't, there's no way for physically to do it right now, so we're. There's grants funding out there, maybe we'll get new trucks, maybe we'll figure it out.
Collect enough. Well, maybe that could pay for the person to do the sorting.
Yeah,
This would be
yeah.
good for community
Just
service.
getting-
Yeah.
So we don't more now than we did before.
Right, we're getting that.
And teacher to the park, whoever runs the class.
Saturday detention. Worry about their future.
And another thing I did point out, the director down there, Marion, is brand new, she's actually been in there 1 year, so it's literally a brand new thing for her coming in, and she came into a mess because the director before her was there for like 6 months. So she's coming into a lot, and so I think you just need to be patient, and not that she's willing to learn, she's excited. I think we're sending Jonathan's application, we sent it to the commissioner's office, and he should be appointed to the board.
Big Harry.
Yeah.
I can't help it. They do it.
It could be Nicole's assistant.
They do
Josh
it.
doesn't-
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah. And we'll get through it. We'll get you more information.
We know more now, that's progress, right? I mean, nothing's been done for how long, at least something we're attempting, right?
All these years.
I mean, recycling's always been pretty big, and. But I think with changing over to the containers, the 96 gallon, it's gonna force more people to recycle. That's what I'm hoping.
Like that. Anything else for the manager? No, okay, moving on, LTE.
Yeah, I got the monthly activity report for January. And this is, everything's gonna be year to date because January is the first month of the year. So from comparison from this year to last year, the numbers are pretty similar, so there's no big significant changes. We had 1,028 calls per service this month. Last year we had 997, so very comparable. University related activities 41 this year to 35 last year. Assists other departments, IUP 2, 3 last year, 2 for PSP, 6 last year. None for the sheriff's department, the same last year. Other agencies 5 this year and 12 last year. Our crash investigations unfortunately went up from 12 last year to 18 this year. But we did have more snow this year than last year, so you know, I think weather plays a lot to the traffic.
I think it's all short.
Wasn't there a new law that was just passed about the phone?
More crash.
Yes, yes. You're not allowed to get on them even at stoplights or stop signs as well.
So how fun is that gonna be to enforce?
Well, we have a 6-month period where we have to give warnings until the public is educated on it.
Is that gonna increase your stops?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to judge because you have hands-free stuff and I mean, there's a lot that come into play for it. So I don't know how it's gonna play out, but at least they're taking an approach to try to mitigate the usage of it. Our parking tickets, we issued 61, last year 59. Our enforcement did go up this year or this month from last year. We had 95 warning and citations to 81 last year. Our summary citations, non-traffic, 29 to 19. Our criminal complaints, which are misdemeanors and felonies, 22 to 17. So all of those numbers are up. Take it for, you know, whatever it's worth, either, you know, people are committing more crimes or
Stress.
catching it, or, yes, we're doing better police work, so. Anti-noise, we had two last year, so we're right on track with that. Open container, public urination and disorderly gatherings, we haven't had any so far. And we had one open.
That's exactly right. It's too cold.
We did have one open container last year. Medical responses, 38 this year to 43. Our school patrols, 388 to 423. So our calls for service are up and our school patrol checks and our checks are down. So we have a little bit more increased activity, which could be from traffic enforcement as well, because that brought the numbers up. So it's all, I mean, it all evens out. Any questions on any of that?
All your
Good job.
officers are helping.
Yes, yeah.
The two that were out.
No, one's still out, rehabbing. The other one's back. So, yeah. Almost up to full staff again.
All right. Anything else? The Lieutenant. Place, solicitor.
Nothing other than what we already talked about with Patty.
Okay, any questions for the solicitor? All right, IP representative is next, just not here, but
Yeah.
I thought I saw Pat, when you get back, right? Yeah. Get back, and I open it. Okay, okay, I guess. I don't have anything specific to add. It's been I was very excited for a period of no major holidays. Down a little bit. I mean, I can fill 5 minutes if you want. But other than that, I didn't have any questions. All right, no questions for me to Mr. Mayor? You are up, sir.
I actually had no report tonight, but if anybody has any questions, I'm glad to field them.
Does anyone have questions?
Okay,
To make mention of EMS.
I believe it's on the agenda.
It is next. Agenda, full business. So, if there's any other questions? Okay, in which case, old business, EMS authority. We all went to the Thursday meeting. I don't know who-
For Dora, do you want to kind of?
Oh, sorry, yeah, yes, sir. It was a lot of information.
Yes.
It was lot of good stuff. A lot of unknowns still. There's the long and short of it is there was an ordinance. To continue forward, that ordinance had in it an opt-out period further down the road. So council voted for the 7 of us that were there unanimously to approve that ordinance and move forward at this time. Again, when the language in that ordinance does let us step away from it if a better option comes available, or we decide that we need a better option because of what they're doing, becomes something that we are no longer in support of. And so, I mean, there was way too much for me to regurgitate all of it. I think that was the big highlights, is that we did approve it, and that approval of that is not lock us into something if we deem it something we don't like.
Is there a time frame on that? Once they create the authority, then that authority will have a hearing to set the fee. We would have 45 days from when they set the fee to opt out. If we stay in after that, then we will be obligated to our pro rata share of any debt incurred by that authority. So, but that's, you have a 45-day opt-out period from the time they set the fees.
So that would be the point where we would have a public hearing. At the, at the council members, council meetings or whatever. That's when we would present something public, because at this point, there's not much to present.
Right, things that would unknown amount at an unknown time for various buildings and businesses.
I wondered if when other people were attending, like, we had no public. So even mayor, all those meetings, those were open to the public, right?
No, no, they weren't.
Not those, not till they form it. And-
Once the authority's formed, they have to be sunshine. And that's.
So- Maybe nobody really, residents really don't.
I don't think people know.
I heard that the representatives were really there for.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, well, that's. But a couple of them didn't have forums, so.
Yeah, there was,
Just there. Some people who smoke were not part of the.
Yeah, but there.
They just don't have any understanding.
I've heard positive feedback. I've heard positive feedback. Made on our vote, so. I think that's.
I think it shows that we are open to new and exploring and transparency and asking the questions and seeing what it does for our community and telling our community to get involved and trying to include them because it is what's for the best of the community. So I think as council, it shows that we do have an open mind. We don't just shut the door down. We don't ignore stuff. So moving into this with the option to opt out says a lot about what we're trying to do regularly, so.
And you got a plug.
well, we started the applause.
We got down.
There was a nice
We-
camaraderie at the.
I think, yeah.
Yes, I heard that the first meeting.
Yeah.
Nearly is.
No, I
Gone,
think
did
ours
not compare to
much
what the
better.
second meeting.
Yeah, first meeting was very stiff, very difficult to sit through, because it should not have been an angry atmosphere. But the second meeting, the first thing that I did was I asked the gentleman, did you learn anything at all from yesterday's meeting? So Citizens Ambulance didn't appear to be very incorporated the first night. And after the community spoke up about how they wanted citizens to be a part of this and should be a part of it to some degree as we go, the gentleman it appeared as though he was much more open to saying citizens is here, we have a spokesman and things of that nature. So it's learning for everybody. So it was a lot better the second night.
I want to thank Mayor Simmons for all your work the last couple of years. I know it's been a cloud of confusion. Over the last few years of trying to get, information when you don't have a tangible.
We'd go to these meetings and you'd walk out afterwards thinking, what did we accomplish? It just seems like it was always all over the place. Even the meetings on last week were like that, where they said some things on Thursday that they didn't admit to on Wednesday. And there were a couple things that they said, oh, we can't do that, but yet again, they said we were gonna do that. So it's all over the place.
Yeah, I think right now, just given the decision of council to continue forward with this and knowing that we're going to be looking at like really nitty gritty details on everything. I would like for a council member to be appointed, since we are the ones that are gonna have to be dealing with the financials of this and what it means, moving forward. I don't know if folks are appreciative of that. I know right now it's not really appointing somebody to the board yet. It's just fitting this phase between here and the fee hearing. And then we would appoint.
What is the
board
name?
decided.
What is I thought of this question. What is the actual, are there any more meetings? Like, what is the
Yeah.
involvement until the board is?
A question, at some point,
What does the board look like?
our district, which we're a district of us and IUP, right, you will have a representative on the authority.
I guess what I'm saying is,
But right now, it's not, like, we're just working out who's the board, right? And
Well, the next steps are the county's going to incorporate the authority. After those meetings last week, my understanding is that they will incorporate the authority. And then they will appoint their board, they'll have a member from each district and 2 at large, is that what it was?
and then the
that was
county.
the recommendation, but that doesn't.
Yeah, right now it's just one at large.
Yeah, yeah. I don't understand why they want to even. They have 10, they have 9 districts and a countywide
Well,
person.
that'd be
Why is the
11.
countywide
It's
person?
always better to have.
Right, so why don't we go to 9? Why does the county? Should- I don't- They had 9 districts and the county gets.
Is that the at large? Is that what that?
No, that's the other 2, that's 12, so they had option of 10. Or 12,
Well, now it sounds
Why
like
would
only
you
one of
just
them
have-
are to be 11. Right?
but if one of the questions that we asked at the meeting that is, I think, important to us as a borough council and also White Township too, if they join in, is how does representation equal population? And if they have 10 or 11 or 12, that really depletes our population. If it's 9, it's pretty accurate to what our percentage of usage. So.
You are not a population.
Usage based on what they said, 25%. But it's probably, yeah.
They don't take into consideration, because I know when I asked them, they're like, oh yeah, we like the borough, they don't have to, the travel distances. I don't know how you, again, I know they can't compare everything, you can't compare apples to apples with this, but. You have White Township, they're gonna drive 15 miles, like, I don't know, 15 minutes, and for us, they're gonna drive 5 minutes.
Well, that's not necessarily true, because if they were called down to Brush Valley. And then there was a call to Borough. They may be coming from one of their other regional areas to get to the borough. So I don't know how you would ever possibly bake that into how you would show. You know what I mean? If there was a 2-car accident someplace and ambulances had to go, and then God forbid you needed somebody else. They might be calling them from what? Isn't there an office of their function where they went down from?
The way citizen works is they have,
Satellite offices, if you will.
yeah, that, and they have, staging areas.
Right.
You know what I mean, like halfway points, from certain areas.
Now, if you throw up other climber sheets at any given time, you could see the ambulance sitting there.
Right.
Because what they'll do is they'll bring it down from the Hillsdale station
It's halfway between
between here
or
and
whatever. It depends on how many they have.
depending on working. They could always be moving.
Plus they have the medic IRPs that are random citizens that are running out the calls until the ambulance gets there.
Well, I guess I'm specifically commenting on drive.
Yeah.
Depends on who gets called where and really determines.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think these next meetings are gonna be pretty critical for getting all those very specific details.
So because EMS is like my passion, I'm sorry, but I did speak to Michael Keefe about the future, Mr. Rob, Dave Piper, 2 township reps. Because they're all part of it, and I spoke to each one of them, and they're happy and willing to allow one of us or anybody that wants to get involved. They're looking for that liaison, somebody that has your big picture in mind, so. And I talked to Bill about that.
Yeah. As for like what I was saying about the council member, I would actually like to nominate Jonathan Smith. On these meetings.
Is this a motion?
Nominate.
Okay, so what would the technical process be? I'm different, I don't wanna do anything outside.
Yeah, Bill,
I mean,
Bill is
yeah.
currently the borough's appointee.
And that's why I asked the question, how many more appointee-based meetings are there?
Yeah, like we're.
I don't know, any more?
Days.
Yeah, I would serve on that.
I think Tanner would really like to do that.
Forgive me, because I'm a little out of my depth here, what do we, the procedural way forward?
Well, originally it was requested, my understanding was that the borough appoint a member to be on that steering committee. Technically, that's what you're a member of, correct, Bill?
Yeah, the steering committee was first, actually, the commissioners appointed us to that. Then from the steering committee, the districts were appointed.
Then at that point, the borough.
Borough. That's correct.
Okay, so what it sounds like is if there's a steering committee meeting, that's not our
The
jurisdiction.
steering
correct?
committee's gone now.
That's gone, okay. So
It's gone.
Next step, what's gonna happen is they're gonna incorporate the authority, is my understanding. And at that point, then there will be representatives from each district appointed to that authority. Now,
By whom?
that I don't know. My understanding was that it was gonna be one per district.
Yeah, maybe the commissioners are picking.
That's what I was.
But my belief is that we recommend that to the.
Okay. So it goes back to my question. If the steering committee's done. And then we, okay, so we would have appointed Bill.
Right.
Is that
So I don't know if
group
it's
still in
premature.
existence or is it over because of the vote?
Well, that group's still around. I mean, the 9 districts are
Right, the
still
9
around.
Does that still exist?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, okay. And so in which case then,
And so the way they presented it on Thursday, correct me if I'm wrong, was that those 9 districts are going to make up part of that authority board.
at least
That's correct.
Right.
That's
They have
correct.
the
Because,
final say on all of this.
yeah, because they'll 9 will
All
vote.
9.
Yeah.
correct? You're correct. But, okay,
It'll be like this board. I mean, it's no different than, or the ICMSA board or whatever.
It does seem a little premature to be designating someone to a seat that is.
well, there's already gonna be in it, right now, I mean, the bill is already in that.
There doesn't have to be meetings.
The districts have to function.
That's fine, but he's in that
The
position that
district
we appoint him to, do we just all of a sudden reappoint someone to the position he's in, that
I think
doesn't
that
seem correct.
is literally the question.
That does not seem correct, to appoint someone and without their term being up to.
Well, that's not true.
Well, this is for the steering committee, the steering is still happening.
Because I'm not disagreeing or agreeing, I'm simply bringing it back to the question that was brought up first. And then would be, if Jonathan was nominated by Casey, is that a procedurally correct thing to do? Or would there have to be a motion to, ask the mayor to step down? Or whatever the technical way to phrase that question would
Well,
be?
so put it to you this way, if the seat became vacant, then it's clear that you have to appoint someone new.
Okay,
So then the question becomes,
what is by appointing someone new automatically vacate the previous person, I suppose is the question. Or do you- or we-
Right.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm not agreeing with you. I'm simply saying we do need to usually follow.
Look, here, let's just make it easy. I'll step down from the
Yeah.
position. That way now it's vacant.
Okay, thank you,
So
Mr. Mayor,
now we're ready to.
for making this right.
That's, no, that's okay.
To that authority or to that committee or to whatever.
It'd be District 9, which would be for Indiana Borough.
Okay, so we have a nomination. Do we have a second for the do we need a second? I don't remember how this works. It's been a while since we nominate people. Do we have a second for Jonathan? Okay, we have a nomination and a second, in which case then it's, when you need to get to 5, right? And then if he gets to 5, he's in, and at the end, we don't have to do any more nomination.
Well, you
correct?
can nominate right now for people.
So you, again, it's been-
It gets voted in order of nomination, so we vote.
okay, well, do we have another nomination?
Yeah.
Ooh, joking, I'm not gonna take you.
Okay, so you nominate, I apologize, you,
Said, shoot me first.
okay, in which case, do we have a second for that? You guys are gonna.
All five to work together with this.
Okay,
Yeah.
in which case then, is there any further nomination? Okay. No further nomination,
We want
then,
Bill to stay with us too. First to go together.
He was elected.
Well, the meetings are open, so anybody can, even if you're not on me. Yeah.
okay, so, can we do it? Again, before we bring up the other lady?
You have a motion.
We have a motion, second, Jonathan, 2, technically 1.
But you heard on Jonathan.
Jonathan first, and if he gets 5 yeses, there is no other vote. That's correct. Okay, and technically speaking, if we didn't get the majority, you can vote repeatedly, not one and done, right? You can keep voting. Feels weird, but you can do it, right? In which case then, Lori, please, do we rule this is in favor of Jonathan being appointed to the EMS? Whatever the title is, here we go. So, Lori, when you're ready, please.
Rod,
Yes.
Colazo, DeBowser,
Yes.
Brick,
No.
Lancaster.
Yes.
Newell,
Yes.
Cerniso.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
7 yes, 1 no.
You and Tammy are gonna.
We know, yeah, you can't make it. You will communicate everything.
Better to have more than one set of ears.
Yeah, so on that note, I don't disagree with that, but procedurally speaking, that we have to make sure we have a specific individual there. As if they, I don't know if they vote amongst themselves,
Carry the vote.
but if they were to. But Tammy's showing that Jonathan cannot make the meeting, it's not like Tammy can vote.
But if that's even allowed.
That won't work.
That's what I mean, it will not work.
She.
You have-
No, but we don't know what's going on.
Somebody can attend them.
Right, that's the distinction. I'm trying to make sure.
You'll let it.
Yeah, you have to let the commissioners know that tomorrow that he'll be the new rep.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
When's the next meeting?
No one knows. It's talking board.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's going to be, it's normally the last Monday of each month. And it's down at 911 and it normally starts at 6 o'clock. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure you let Michael Keith, Commissioner, needs to know that. So, yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Okay, in which case, then, is there any authority discussion point, now that matter has been settled. Nothing else, okay, moving on to new business. Funding awarded, excuse me. Eden, you want to give a brief recap of the funding we got?
Good news and bad news, right?
Yeah, good news and bad news. Last week, the CFA board met on Tuesday to approve a bunch of funding, but specifically the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program that Molly had applied to for 2 projects last spring. And we were awarded both of the projects that we asked for, so that's the good news. The bad news is that we weren't awarded all the money. So we are kind of back to the drawing board. So the two projects that we applied for were the Vinegar Hill restoration or beautification or something project. So we applied for, yeah, it's some, I forget, it's something along those lines. Yeah, plants. We applied for a lot of money to plant Vinegar Hill. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about should we plant on Vinegar Hill? Now we have a substantial amount of money that does require a 10% match. And we had kind of talked about this yesterday and just figuring out what we should do moving forward so that we can keep that money and we have some options, I guess, on the table.
ARP money. Or super Vinegar Hill was included in that. So I guess we need to take this back to the committee because we did have some talk and there might be some other ideas. As long as we use that funding for the plants, we can put
And mulch.
and mulch, we can. Wow. Now, I think.
Yeah.
We can't use that funding for match, but we have to use it to buy the plants, which I think is still in the plans. It's just
So
how.
plants and mulch, like soil, it's not.
It lists out specifically like 8 plants and mulch.
Yeah.
So that's why we're kind of stuck. We could get a lot of mulch. On the bright side, we talked through this yesterday. It is a phased project. So if we decide that we want to use ARP funds or some other kind of funds to supplement the additional planting, then we have some time to do that. We have 3 years to work on this project. Right, yes, but
So there was discussion at the Public Works about the soil. So one thing we were talking about the other day was that the folks that recommended these plants did soil sampling.
Yeah.
So if they did what they should have done and take into account their own data to pick these plants may be just fine in the soil as is. And the soil obviously grows things. We had to kill it all in order to do this. Okay, so things grow there. Right, and so they may have taken that into consideration when they pick these particular plants. I think that is a question that needs to be asked of the folks that designed this. Okay, if they thought that simply the leaf compost would supplement with nutrients, that's just to get a very landscaper on you. We need to know that, right? Because that'll dictate whether or not any additional steps need to be taken in order for these plants to be considered viable in that environment. If they took into consideration the soil samples and they think that the compost will put enough nutrients back into that ground to sustain plants, it may be dig a bunch of holes to put the plants in, it's go time, okay? Now, if they didn't consider that, or if they want to re-soil sample, there's a lot of folks out there that can do that, share nutrients. What?
To look at their.
Right.
Their freezing their plants.
If either there's something wrong with the soil now due to depletion, or they didn't take that into consideration, there are mitigating steps to add soil. That's what's sort of the point of what we're talking about. ARP funds can be used to add some of the soil to the hillside to make this project viable, therefore still being able to use the grant received to buy the exact same plans we've already talked about.
There's about 25,000 left in ARP for that. Well, no, then we got the grant.
Yeah.
The grant is 43.
it's 31 and change plus a 10% match.
Plants and mulch.
Another amount to go out.
So.
I mean, it's a good problem to have, right? Like.
And Luke did, so I think we just need to put it on the Public Works agenda.
It seems like.
Give it some time, like, we'll bring in all the research we have.
The maintenance is always the problem.
Yeah, but that's
Like, you can put as beautiful plants you want, but if we can't touch it every like 6 months, maybe when we get somebody like up there willing to do it, it's not. Nothing's gonna survive if we just like think we're gonna plant and walk away.
Well, that I would agree with. There's no such, yeah, I mean, you're gonna end up with the same plants we just killed.
One level of like, just, one level is enough so we have a class.
Let me tell you, one of the-
Yeah, why don't we wait until.
There's
Yeah, I just. Batter them up for a couple of years.
No, we're just, this is just saying, hey, we got this grant. So And then that's part two of another grant. Go ahead. Amy.
And then we also applied for the McGregor Park update project, which Jeff had mentioned in the comp plan. We had applied for $250,000 of grant money, and then I think our match was somewhere around 86, I think. And we were awarded 44,000 in total. So, yes, I reached out for clarification and they said, we can't give you clarification. It could just be they ran out of money, you know, whatever. So we got $44,000. That doesn't cover what,
Use that as a
which,
match.
yeah, I do believe we will be able to use that as a match for a DCNR grant that just opened. We do have a rep coming in next week, so my hope is to discuss that with her just to make sure it's okay. Because we had proposed another project for McGregor Park for that grant anyway, and now that we don't have enough money, hopefully that could just funnel into our match for the next project and we could complete the entire project. And that project is to move the existing playground from McGregor Park across the the stream there, and hopefully also stabilize that stream bank. And walking trails and, yeah. Yeah. So the stabilization was not, and that's one thing that we had talked about. It was not included in the grant that was submitted for the Greenways Trails and Recreation Grant that we just received. And we had then started a different conversation at the end of last year to stabilize the stream bank, which was why we were looking for additional funding. So now the hope is that we have some funding and the plans to stabilize the stream bank so that we can apply for another grant to do all of that.
And moving the children away from the unstable stream bank.
And the.
Immediately.
It's a great spot. It's a great spot.
Yeah, there's some very big frogs in there.
Underneath.
It's an education. Yeah, it's an educational activity.
Yeah.
So so Luke, you got an email to sign that, so you can go ahead and, there's two of them. And both of them. Okay. So that's it for that. So that's gonna be on public works agendas probably for the next couple.
Okay, just for clarity, so the grant we got, that 30, how much was it, 44,000?
Yeah, McGregor Park
McGregor
was
Park one.
just over 44,000.
For a grant to be named in the future, assuming it doesn't time out, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm confirming with the rep next week, but there is a lengthy list of related grants that the DCNR does accept for their C2P2 grant that we're applying for.
Okay, anything else for that? Anything else for new business? And moving on to upcoming events, positive community impacts. We're so, I ventured out after the holidays. I'm so disconnected. I have no idea what's happening in the town at the moment.
Nothing wrong.
St. Patrick's Day Parade coming up is supposed to.
Chili cook off on the first.
What,
There's a lot of blood drives going on. Look around.
Yeah, that's good. When is Josh is not here? He's favorite fund drive fundraiser. You're willing to report on something Josh is doing?
I beg your pardon?
He's doing some fundraiser for Tenny Griffith, right?
I like my job, Luke.
It's a Tenny Griffith fund drive.
It's a competitor.
Yeah, they can repeat.
Yeah, just misrepresent, you just took the fund drive, that's all. Just spell it.
What he needs to do.
Anyway, okay, in which case, I mean, it's a positive community thing. I've seen a lot of people shoveling other people's sidewalks. Well, I felt some old lady came and shoveled mine. I was so embarrassed. She looked at me and she said, I cannot sit in my house for one moment longer. I gotta do something. I'm shoveling. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, ma'am. I was on the report. No, that's not fair. But we did go shovel her sidewalk the next day. But anyway, so that was my positive. Anyone else for positive, anything? All right, in which case, we said no executive session, we have a motion.
All right.
Throw it, Peter.